What a weekend of NRL. My fantasy side dominated, and the Parramatta Eels got the dub against the Roosters too. I am flying high right now after last week's disappointment. Big score for me this week, about 1,087 at this stage. Current rank 639, in from about 1,050 last week, so up about 400 ranks. Hoping to keep on rising, hoping to finish in that top 500, potentially even the top 200 now because I'm getting a bit cocky. But yeah, it was a crazy week. We've got a bunch of guys to talk about as well. So I'll skip past my team. I'll go through those top scorers because quite a few of us had these guys. Now, next up here, we'll jump into top scores. And Leo Apawadi, a surprising one here, but unsurprising considering the game they had. So Manly players top three scores, 94 points for Lehigh. Daly Cherry Evans in that game, 350, scored 93. We talked about him as someone who could pop off. It's been coming for a while, and there it is, that big game for Cherry Evans. Tommy Turbo, massive game. So 3 back-to-back games where the Dolphins have conceded 90-plus points to fullbacks. 3 games. That's massive. So Teddy, Walsh, and now Tommy Turbo. And Tommy Turbo getting it. Look, Teddy can do that. He can crack that 90-plus. Walsh was playing great footy. But Turbo doing it is a bit of a surprise here. And hopefully he was in year 17 this week. Walsh backed it up against the Knights. He was dominant again. Very dynamic. Very hands-on ball. Very aggressive. 86 points for him. Then down the list here, Joey Tarpanay, written off by many, but scored that 83 this week. We had Payne Haas with 81, grabbed a try in this game. We talked about that. He did need that try to score big against the Knights. Ricky with a 76, Big Tino a 74, grabbed a try there as well. Ethan Strange went big. Great game, by the way, that game. Raiders v Panthers, cracker of a finish, 73 points for him. Ward, very surprising, 73 for Ward. He was not someone who was looking like doing that this week. And yeah, they won 40-0 against the Dragons. So good on you, Ashton Ward. Great game from him. And then Horsburgh, Finafuyaki, RTS, Marshall King, Tallis Duncan, Jacob Little, Terrell May, Hosking, and Nathan Cleary, as well as Taylor May, Fogarty. They sort of round out the mid-60s up to the high 60s and 70 point there. So some big scores this week, some monsters from some pretty on the fence swing fullbacks who are in some teams but not in others, which means there's big variability of scores this week. So if you went well, he probably rose up the ranks quite a bit because there are some teams who had some seriously bad luck this week. Now, first thing I do want to shout out in this Tigers game, because it's going to be the big news this week for fantasy, is Adam Dewey, obviously knocked out of this one with a 7. He went down. He was down for quite a while. Ended up being called a Category 2 HIA. He obviously failed that HIA, but also they found a pretty bad fracture in the cheekbone. It looks like he's going to be out for the rest of the year. So he was rushed to hospital. We'll see what happens there. We have seen guys come back quickly, but I would say the last 2 games, it's very, very, very unlikely that he would come back before the end of the season. So my guess is Adam Dewey's season's done, but keep an eye out for that. Maybe it comes back clear, hopefully. It seems unlikely at this stage. But yeah, that's a bit of bad news for about 50% of top coaches who had Adam Dewey in their teams. You got some great scores out of him, but unfortunately this week it wasn't to be. Now, down the list here, we've got Terrell May, 66 points here, 75 minutes, got a rest midway through the second half. Good game from him, 66 is fine. 41 tackles here, had the line break assist, which helps. 2 tackle breaks, 2 offloads, 153 run meters. The only thing that could really boost him up is a couple more tackle breaks, a couple more offloads there. Maybe you take an error off, that kind of thing. But look, 66 is fine for Terrell May. He's sort of not really competing with Cleary and Haas at this stage, in my view. I've got him pretty firmly out of the big 3. It's really between those 2 for me every week. So I haven't captained Terrell May since around Origin 3, around that time from memory. I think maybe round 19, potentially, round 20. So he's not really in that picture for me. And the scoring profile has just sort of fallen off a bit as the Tigers have gotten better. Taylor May, 65 points here, grabbed 2 tries, 3 line breaks, 9 tackle breaks, 136 run meters. Very solid from him. Luai, 62. He stepped up big when Dewey went down, but he was involved in the attack all the way through as well. So a try assist, a line break, 4 tackle breaks here, 132 run meters. Luai was everywhere. And if you're desperate for a cheaper option, Luai could be the guy, especially if he's next to Latu Finu in the halves. That's a pretty favorable combination for Luai. Burns with a 58, very solid. Coruscant 58 as well. Drinkwater, he bounced back in this one. So very quiet first 60-odd minutes here. Really stepped up down the stretch. We had a try saver, 5 goals, 2 try assists, a line break, 4 tackle breaks, 147 run meters, bit of kicking there as well. But the big thing was those big breaks in the clutch moments in this game. And Drinkwater was a big reason why the Cowboys beat the Tigers in this one. Truva, A56 as well. Then Bula, Valamate, Cotter, Dearden, Finu rounded out the 50s there, as well as Twal, 60 minutes, 50 points. For Dearden here, grabbed that try, which definitely boosted his score up. The stats have not been favourable for Dearden in recent weeks. 97 run meters, 124 kick meters, both down from what you expect from Tommy Dearden. He has proven not to be the best option down the stretch. He had a hot little run at the start. We were talking about him as a pod, but he really has cooled off recently. So still decent scores, but not the special stuff we were sort of thinking he might hit onto. Then down the list here into the 40s, we have Nanai, Taumalolo in a bit of form lately, by the way, 174 run meters, 5 tackle breaks. It's not fantasy relevant. It's just great to see as a footy fan, Taumalolo playing well. Purdue with a 44, Fino a 43, Bateman a 41. Then into the 30s here, Edwards, Pole, McLean, Robson, only 55 minutes for him, so very quiet. Clifford, McKaylee, and then into the 20s here, Naden grabbed that try, still only 28 points there. Vilea, Murray, Latu, Fino, Skelton, and below that we had Suka, Royce Hunt, you're never getting Royce Hunt, Carl Lawton, and Adam Dewey we talked about as well. So ripping through, that game wasn't super great for fantasy there. If you had Terrell May as captain, you weren't super happy with that. If you're a Dewey owner, definitely not happy. Drinkwater was pretty solid. Now we go through to the next game here. We've got the Knights v. the Broncos, and of the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 scorers, 8 are Broncos. They also have the top 6 scorers here. Kai Pearce-Paul doing work, so shout out to Kai Pearce-Paul. Love you, mate. Love you on my fantasy side, but unfortunately Newcastle just not really clicking lately. They're missing a lot of troops, so yeah, they're just falling off at this stage. But for the Broncos here, Walsh, 86 points. And again, what we look at here, the big thing we're looking at, the big thing we talked about last week was, does he maintain that aggressive, physical running game, and is that going to carry forward? In this game, we can see 176 run meters, 12 tackle breaks. That's the big thing I'm looking for here. Everything else is nice. Like everything else, attacking stats, all that sort of thing. He's playing good footy, blah, blah, blah. We know Walsh can do that. But 176 meters, nearly 200 meters run and 12 tackle breaks, that's the base we're looking for. Because if he does that, Reece Walsh, then he's just so talented that he's going to rack up the other stats there. So if you got on Reece Walsh, this was the week to do it. Next week against the Cowboys is not a bad matchup. I think they have the Storm in round 27, who often rest a lot of players in round 27. So, he has 2 matchups that have potential to be reasonably favorable going forward. He'll be closer to 700K, so he's pretty expensive. There'll be a lot of coaches thinking about potentially doing Adam Dewey to Reece Walsh, particularly those who have Drinkwater, who will have a buy in round 27. So have a look at that, see if it fits your team. But for Walsh here, I'll just read out the stats here too. A try, 2 try assists there. He had a few goals as well, 2 line breaks, 3 line break assists, 12 tackle breaks, 176 run meters, 154 kick meters. Payne Haas not far behind him, 81 points, my captain for this week. And my hesitation here with Haas was he needs to score a try to go well in this game. What we saw was him scoring a try and going well in this game. So, hey, I'm happy with it, but I was a bit worried about the work rate on offer here if he didn't have that big breakout try. And I was really concerned about the edges leaking too much from the Broncos. And I think, from the Knights there. And I feel like that prediction was pretty spot on, but he grabbed the try. Carrigan fed him a nice little ball to score a try there. So, hey, we'll take the score. Now, in terms of Haas's numbers here, you had the try and the line break there. Some run meters went with that as well. So it was probably about a 15, 17-point try there. 30 tackles, no missed tackles here. 3 tackle breaks. You've got 3 offloads, 2 of them to hand, and 232 run meters. So dominant Payne Haas. We expect this. He scored that try, got 80 points. Love to see it. Ricky with a 76, grabbed a try in this one as well. 6 tackle breaks. He's been a bit hit and miss, and this was one of the hits, but I'm not really buying into Jordan Ricky. That average is at a 48.2 because he does this, and he scores 30 next week. So not for me, but if you want to pot up, you can. Mariner, a 64, 2 tries, says all but 2 tries, 8 tackle breaks, and 252 run meters. Again, just dominant. He played fantastic in this game. Karapani, nice little try there as well. He scored a try, 3 line breaks, 10 tackle breaks, 200 meters run. Were the Knights tackling on the edges? Your guess is as good as mine. I didn't really see it. Katoni Staggs, a 59 here, dominant as well. For Staggs, he had a try assist, 3 line breaks, 7 tackle breaks, and nearly 200 meters run. Again, dominant Katoni Staggs. He was red hot in this game, especially at the start of this one. Pearce-Paul, 55 points from him. 37 tackles is a good work rate. 4 missed tackles, a bit high, but look, it was the kind of game where he was getting put in tough positions. And again, for Pearce-Paul, I'm loving the tackle breaks, 3 tackle breaks this game, and I'm loving the offloads. So he's had more than 2 most weeks recently, but 2 offloads in this one, still pretty solid, and he managed 121 run meters. So 55 points for Pearce-Paul. Again, I'm good with it. As a Pearce-Paul owner, he's probably not going to break out with a monster score here, just with the Knights missing essentially their entire spine. So he's not getting fed that ball where he's going to bust through, but he's doing work. He's not a problem in our sides. Keep riding the wave with Kaipius ball. Shibasaki at 50, obviously a try, and every other attacking stat under the sun definitely helped him there. Carrigan at 45, and we talked about this is a bit of a danger game for Paddy Carrigan. He normally doesn't scale up with attacking stats there. Had the try assist to Payne Haas, which is nice, but you got one tackle break, no offloads there. And they're the stats that you tend to want to see guys flexing up with in these sorts of games. So Carrigan at 45. Bradman Best at 45, grabbed a try, 6 tackle breaks. He had a few offloads there as well, 160 meters run, a forced turnover. He tried his heart out, but 4 errors, 5 missed tackles, had a few negative stats there, and he was on the edge that was getting beaten up quite a bit too by Katoni Staggs. So, look, it's a tough edge to defend. I'm not really holding this on Bradman Best, but I think he's priced it at 46.2 right now. That's his average for the year. So going into next year, it's going to be a 46.2. Probably too expensive for me to consider next year. Gagai at 43. And for Gagai, he went back to fullback in this one. So we saw a bit of an uplift there. 155 run meters, 13 tackle breaks. He tried. He bloody tried. He really did try. They got smashed in this one. Gagai gave it his all. Had a few offloads there as well. No attacking stats. 43 for a fullback and got in the team that got smashed. I'd be pretty happy with that if I was a Gagai owner, actually. That was pretty solid. Then Ben Hunt at 43. Started hot, had that try assist early, and had no more attacking stats for the rest of the day. So pretty surprised by that, but he really just deferred to Reece Walsh as the main creator, and the edges just dominated. So Ben Hunt didn't have to do too much. 8 missed tackles as well, so minus 16 there. That knocked him down to a 43. And I'm going to speed up here because it's a bit fantasy irrelevant through here. So McEwen at 43, Crossland at 40. Then to the 30s, we had Leo Thompson, had a try in this one. Hetherington did too. Walters, Hunt, Cogger, Frizzell, Brayley as well. Brayley played pretty big minutes off the bench. In the 20s here, Safidi, Smoothie, Croker, Camp, Jensen, Young, Hunt. We talked about Hunt as a really average scorer. 21 points in 71 minutes. Hopefully you guys steered clear of that one. Corey Pakes, Tulty, and then below that we had Jake Arthur. Real shocker for him. He's been in decent fantasy form the last couple of weeks, but not a great one for Jake Arthur today. Probably had a try in this one actually, but just unfortunately had a ball that was a bit high and couldn't quite rein it in. And then, really pretty fantasy relevant down the list. Jesse Arthur's just knocking that price down further with a -1 in 10 minutes here. Now, I'll speed up the pace here because those two games were very fantasy relevant. There's a lot of big news. This one here, not as juicy. So no one scored over 60 in the Eels v Roosters game. Mark Noini Tuase first up, 59 points here, had 2 try assists, the 6 tackle breaks, 3 offloads, 120 run meters. He was pretty strong in this one. Got a lot of ball sent his way. Had a few mistakes where, couldn't quite rein in the high balls, that kind of thing. It did lead to Parramatta points. But with the way fantasy is set up, he's not really being punished for those too much. So, for him, we got a lot more, ball in his hands. And when he has the ball in his hands, he does create things. And, there's a few mistakes in there as well. But bloody hell, he's exciting to watch. So if you're a Noah owner, I don't know, you just keep looping him, right? Like they've got some matchups that are a little tricky. Storm this week is not ideal. Josh had a car there, but Storm not ideal this week. And South Sydney round 27 should be good for him. Hopgood at 58, grabbed a try in this one. He was looking solid. 2 forced turnovers definitely helps. 61 minutes for him. Jack Williams at 57 here. Pretty much pure base stats here. 4 forced turnovers from Jack Williams is pretty crazy. That's plus 16 points there. So that bumps him from a 41 to a 57. You can't rely on that every week. I consider the forced turnover like similar to an attacking stat. They sort of pop up every now and then and they sort of, disappear for a bit. And you can't trust them. Mitch Moses at 50. And Moses was pretty good in his 1 attempt at goal. Absolute sniper shot from the right touchline from memory. So for Mitch Moses, could take over goal kicking potentially. 91 run meters here. 595 kick meters. Had the try, but didn't really dominate attacking stats there. So again, if you want a super crazy pod, you could have a shot at Moses. 500K. There are crazier options out there. Hugo Savala, he will be the dominant half next week. Obviously, Sam Walker's out next week with the HIA. So for Savala, a 50 here, Toya a 49, and then to the 40s here, Addo Carr. Iolu got big minutes, obviously, with Sam Walker's injury. Gus Crichton, a 45 here. Some okay numbers, just not quite the volume or attacking plays we wanted. Walker Watson actually got bigger minutes, playing mostly in the halves, but did step into hooker a bit. A few run meters here. Unfortunately for Watson, he's playing half and not kicking the ball, so the stats are relatively limited, especially considering the fact that Roosters got smashed in this one. Up the Eels. Up the Eels. Riley Smith, a 38 here. Collins in the 30s as well as Penasini. Nafahu White, bit disappointing for him. Victor Radley, Junior Barlow, and Matt Dury, Billy Smith. And then the 20s here, we got Butcher, Yongi, Tuolangi, Tedesco. Yeah, really quiet from Tedesco. Had a try in this one, but for Teddy, it's one tackle break, 107 run meters. So he was really held out of the game by Parramatta. And the big thing we saw was Mitch Moses, the kicking game. He was just terrorizing the back three. And it wasn't Teddy most of the time that was copying it, but they weren't able to lock down those Moses kicks. And we weren't seeing the big kick return meters from Teddy. Ball was out of play a lot because the Roosters were dropping a lot of ball as well. So, yeah, the Chooks, I think the Chooks are a dark horse for the finals. Like, they're a very fun team to watch, but this was one of the worst games I've seen them play. For Teddy as well, 4 errors definitely doesn't help. Then down the list, Dylan Brown, Lenu, Wong, Samrani grabbed a couple of tries for 24 points. Geimer, Josh Papali'i, again, not as stat heavy in this one with 22. Zach Lomax, a 14 in a game where I thought he played quite well, but just didn't really get credited with the attacking stats on plays where he did create attack, did score tries. So if you pot it up with Zach Lomax, you're bloody unlucky in that one. And then De Silva for Keddy, Junior Tupou, really tough game for him. And Sam Walker out after 7 minutes with 1 point there. He'll miss next week, potentially back the week after. Now, Titans v Warriors, ripping through. Big Tino. That was my one trade this week. I went Latu Fainu to Tino. Got 74 points out of him in 64 minutes. That try at the start of the game, that was a lovely beginning. 47 tackles, 4 tackle breaks, and 150 run meters. Love your work, Tino. That's great. At 541k too irresistible not to get. You could still get him this week. He'll be in the sort of higher 500s there, maybe 570, that kind of thing. So he's still a very viable option down the stretch with the Titans trying to fight to avoid the wooden spoon. RTS at 69 here, 2 tries, was dominant in attack. He's had a great season, actually, RTS. Not for fantasy necessarily, but I just think he's gone about his work in a really nice way. And, the Warriors have been a bit up and down, but he's been fantastic. Verrills with a 58, 60 tackles, 58 points for Verrills. And a try assist there as well. Just big defensive work rate from him. Campbell at 55. Again, no attacking stats. We've got a 60 and then a 55 with no attacking stats for Campbell. I don't love the lack of attacking stats, but I do love the base. So he has an explosion in him. They have the Dolphins next week who cannot tackle to save their lives. They just copped a 58-point pounding from Manly. A couple of weeks ago, they copped 64 from the Roosters. I would say Campbell is in peak captaincy conversations for next week. The Dolphins really haven't stopped much. And look, the Titans aren't, world beaters, but I think the Titans bring a bit of heat in attack in particular. So I could see Campbell popping off. I might do it. I'm going to think about it. And then Pompey at 53, Ermia Tower at 53 as well. Aaron Clark got 58 minutes. This one, 51 points. Bit disappointing considering the guy's out. Fisher Harris at 50 and 60 minutes. Down into the 40s here, Harris Tavita, Kelly, both firmer. Saved the day with the try, but still 46. Not a great run of form for both firmer, unfortunately. Brimson, a 42. Boyd, a 40. And again, these Titans players, I'm keeping him for that Dolphins matchup. At 30s here, we got Campbell Gillard, Randall, Niokore, Valmunga. We thought Valmunga, well, I don't know, I was a bit tentative about it, but a lot of people were thinking Valmunga might be the guy to step up here with Jackson Ford out, but he only got 31 minutes here. So, yeah, he didn't really flex up in the minutes there. I think we've sort of seen the peak of him in his early career. And I think, maybe next year he comes back with a bit more maturity in his game. And, not much, he's lacking maturity. You know what I mean? He's a young prop, comes back next year, a little bit bigger, a little bit more experienced, all that sort of thing, and steps into a bigger role. But the Warriors do have a bit of a logjam in that forward pack. Egan with 34 here, only 50 minutes for Wade Egan. So, yeah, not a go. Stower Smith, Nickel Clockstar. We've got Haas, Fodawaker, Sami, Capewell, and then into the 20s here, Barry Martin for Feeder, Patston, Halasima coming off the bench, 26 minutes, 18 points. Foreign, DWZ really quiet. And big noteworthy one, Keeney, 5 points in 20 minutes. He will currently, as it stands, be priced at a 22 starting next year. So Keanu Keeney is basically going to be a must-have in 2026. So just keep that one on the watch list for yourself. And if you're in a draft league going to a grand final this week, Keeney might actually pop up and start potentially. It's not looking likely, but it could happen. And if that happens against the Dolphins, we've seen 3 back-to-back games of 90-plus by fullbacks. Keeney can do that as well. So keep an eye on that. Now, Seagulls v Dolphins. We've got Hopewadi, and we talked about him. We talked about Trey Evans and Turbo. Hopper and Turbo both grabbed 2 tries in this one. Between the 3 of them, they had 8 try assists. Trey Evans kicked 9 goals in this game as well. That's 18 points there. The line breaks were plentiful, 6 line breaks between them, and tackle breaks were going around too. Both Hopper and Turbo went 200 meters plus in terms of running the ball, and Turbo had 5 offloads in this game too. So Cherry Evans, I will shout out as well, 171 run meters. That's when we see Cherry Evans playing well. Not necessarily, I don't think he needs the 100-meter rule. Like, he's not that guy where he has to pump out 120, 150 meters a game kind of thing. But when we see him running the ball a bit more confidently, playing a bit more physically, we saw that in this game. That's when Cherry Evans can really, really dominate because he creates that running threat and then things open up around him. Finafuyaki, 72 points in a well-beaten team with a try there, as well as Marshall King with a 68. So solid from those boys. Kohler is progressively just getting better every year. The issue is it's happening too slowly. That's the problem. So he's gone up 100K this year, scored that 59. He's averaging about a 41 this year. That went up from, I think it was a 35 last year. So it's just slowly popping up there. At some point, if he ever plays fullback, we'll get him 100%. But the issue is he just gets too expensive to consider. Like, it's too gradual. So as much as I love Kohler, I don't think he's going to be on fantasy radars next year. Simpkin with a 57, Bullimore and Lemuelu, as well as Hammer around that 50 mark. Isaiah Katoa, got to talk about this guy here. He's been a bit disappointing since Herbie Farnworth went down. And look, Herbie was his big weapon, so you can't blast him too much. I will say also, you can see 60 points in a game, scores of 49. The issue is every week I come on here and I say, Katoa's score was okay considering the Dolphins got smashed. The issue is they keep getting smashed, so I can't even use that excuse anymore, really. Katoa, they got the Titans next week. It's going to be the opportunity to attack against the Titans. I would say we'll see something from Katoa next week. With a bit of confidence, I'm going to say he scores 55 to 60 points kind of thing. 117 run meters for him this week as well. So he was, aggressive with the ball. They just got belted by Manly at Brookie. So that's how it goes. Then the 40s here, we got Ben Trebojevic. Kafusi grabbed a try in this one as well. Luke Brooks, a double and a 44. Donahue, a 42. Just didn't go his way in attack. Takiaho, a 42 as well. In the 30s here, Tavita Nafahu, a 39. He's actually been quite solid in a few of the big losses they've had. Fuller, a 37. Lodge, Navale, Molo, rounding out the 30s there. Then Kerr, Feeney, Nichols, Avril. Yeah, look, no one else really. Jazz Tavanga, by the way. So I'm on the Matty Johns show. How funny is this guy? He was classic on the show. And Tommy Talau, our legend here, 24 points. Steady as they come. Tommy Talau, he's just going about business. A shout out to Sarko too, 10 points for Sarko, including 10 points from goal kicks. So that's an all-time shocker from a goal kicker in fantasy. Now ripping through, we got the Storm and the Dogs up next, and this one was a fun game to watch. I thought the Dogs were a real shot at taking this one to Golden Point, but yeah, I got a few tips right this week. I tipped the Eels, of course, but I did tip the Doggies as well. I tipped the Doggies. I thought they could, get there, and they were damn close. So I was rooting for you, Doggies, but not to be. Storm got up in this one. Now, for the Dogs here, Kikau was the top scorer of the game. 62 points here, grabbed a try, 4 tackle breaks, 4 offloads, 145 run meters there. A solid game from Kikau. We had a bunch of Storm dominance here, though. Liera, Munster, and Katoa all around that 60 mark. I'll talk about Munster here first. Try assist for him. 5 tackle breaks, 110 run meters, 300 kick meters. Pretty solid rounded game here for him. And Eli Katoa, 56, grabbed that try. 34 tackles, 5 tackle breaks, and 135 run meters. So very solid game for him too. Preston at 56 here. Played the 80 minutes, which is what we want to see. Had a line break, 40 tackles with no misses. The 40 tackles, no misses, that is a nice base, right? 83 run meters here. A tackle break, 2 offloads. I'm good with that for Preston. Kraz at 56 as well. And for Kraz, 2 line breaks and a try really drove this score. Still quite low in the run meters here. Only 138 and only 3 offloads for Kraz. Tokamanu, minutes dropped back down to about a 43 there. Still pumped out a 49, so solid enough. Code to the 49 as well. Wishart, 67 minutes for Wishart is a bit concerning here. The 48 is good in 67 minutes. The issue is, you get the rest of the game, and he probably comes out at about a 58, and you're having a completely different conversation. So I like Wishart. Don't love the rotations for him. The issue is they were defending at the end, so they weren't trying to chase points or anything like that, which means that you're probably not going to run Wishart at lock. You're gonna run, a big forward at lock and just hope you can hold out that lead. Pappenhausen, a 48 here, had the try, line break. Not too much else going on for Paps. Not goal kicking, so not as much on my radar. Hayes at the 47, Burton a 42 as well as Galvin there. So for Burton and Galvin, there were some good signs. 42 for each of them with really minimal attacking stats. For Burton, it was 137 run meters, 334 kick meters. For Galvin, nearly 160 run meters and 235 kick meters. Defensively, Burton, 18 tackles, 3 misses. Galvin, 24 tackles is good, but 7 missed tackles, minus 14 points there. Yeah, we just need a few attacking stats for Burton and Galvin. That's the big thing there. But I like the base from them this week. Hayward with the 42 as well as Mann with a 40. Then to the 30s here, Stephen Crichton, Meaney, Tracy, Hughes. Then to the 20s, King. Josh King, Max King. Oh, Max King. He has fallen off at the back end of this year in terms of fantasy production. Montoya, Chan, Zeri, Tupanua, Harry Grant. We'll talk about that in a sec. Salmon, Pezzett, McDonald, Lasardi. Yeah, look down the bottom of the list. Seve. Talked to a few of you out of buying Seve, so thought 13 points there. I'm feeling pretty good about that. Reed Marnie, a 6 here. He is dropping that price for next year so quickly, and I love to see it because Reed Marnie's our weapon. He's an absolute weapon. He is definitely in my team for next year. I'm excited to see him play at the Cowboys. For Harry Grant here, 24 points. Score's not great. Look, 34 tackles here, 2 missed tackles, no tackle breaks, no offloads, minimal kicking here. You had 39 run meters, so that's quite low. You have a penalty and a sin bin and a 2-week suspension. So Grant's going to be gone for the year. Not James Salmon. Grant's going to be gone for the year. It's a bit of bad news. Look, yeah, he's been pretty solid the last few weeks. You've gotten some good scores out of him, but yeah, for this week, it's not to be. So hopefully you've got Aaron Clark or someone else at the hooker spot that you can plug in, or potentially just use that trade and you move him on for someone else too. So yeah, the hooker spot's a bit of a wasteland. I'm just keeping Connor Watson as my starting hooker and hoping for the best at this stage. Now, Panthers v Raiders. We've got the Tarpanay game here. So it's all Raiders too. Top 7 scorers, 6 of them are Raiders. Tarpanay bounce back game, 83 points. I needed this so bad, man. I've had Tarpanay in my team for bloody ever, and it's been a struggle. But 60 minutes here, grabbed the try, 47 tackles from him, 126 run meters. We have 3 offloads, 3 tackle breaks, and a forced turnover from Tarpanay. So in the tough games, we talked about it. In the tougher games, he's going to step up, we hope. The issue now is we've got 2 weeks left. I think he'll rev up next week as well, but the issue is the Tigers. How much are they going to have to play for? Will Canberra blow them off the park, or can the Tigers keep it close? They have had some good games recently, right? I'm hoping the Tigers can keep it competitive, but I was really rooting for the Tigers today against the Cowboys. So I'm just freshly disappointed by the Tigers right now. So I'm finding it hard to envision them being competitive. And Canberra are just so good. So hopefully we get a big minute Tarpanay game and a tough one. But the issue is they're looking so good for top 2, and they're probably not super worried about whether it's first or second. So they're probably going to rest some guys around 27, and Tarpanay is probably one of those guys that they will give a rest to. So he may get less minutes or may get a rest entirely around 27. So don't buy him if you don't have him. If you do have him, just ride the wave. Be conscious of the fact that you're probably going to cop some sort of BS at some point in the remaining 2 weeks. Ethan Strange at 73 here. Horsburgh at 72. Hosking at 66. Big game, played every minute this one. 51 tackles, 115 run meters is a nice base. 62 points there, and then he rounded it out with a few other things there. Cleary, a 65. Weird game for Cleary. Weird game. So if you look at his stat line, I'll start at the run meters here because 60 run meters is about half of what you expect from Cleary. 880 kick meters is bloody absurd. That's 29 points in kick meters, so that's crazy. Then you've got 1 tackle break, no offloads, a forced turnover, 7 missed tackles, so minus 14 points there, 27 tackles made. So they're running a bunch of traffic at Cleary. A try assist and a couple of goals. 65 points here. Just a game where Cleary didn't get it going his way. The running game didn't come out. That's the big thing that's going to get into 80 points in this sort of game. And that wasn't there. So you saw a 65 out of him. I wouldn't be too worried. Canberra are one of the best teams in the comp. It's going to happen. I would be pretty happy captaining Cleary going forward, though. And let me just quickly check, because who have they got next week? They've got the Dogs next week, and then they've got the Dragons the week after. I'm a bit worried about that round 27 game. I probably wouldn't captain Cleary in round 27, just because they'll probably have it locked up at that point. But round 26 against the Dogs, I think that's a game where I might captain Cleary. We'll have a look at it next week. Fogarty, a 64 here. Good bounce back. Love to see it from Fogarty for all of you guys who do have him. 701 kick meters is big. He ran the ball a bit too, had a few tackle breaks. Defensively was very strong. Obviously a try assist there as well. K Weeks, that try at the end from Ethan Strange. Bloody beautiful piece of footy, that one. Now, for him, 60 points here. Grabbed the try there as well. That's nice to see. 9 tackle breaks, 283 run meters. It's a good day out for KO Weeks. There's Isaiah Yeo, 59 points in 63 minutes. Look, we talked about him being a 55 to 65 minute player this week. The PPM was better than I expected, though. That's elite. That's really elite. 43 tackles here, no missed tackles. So that's 43 points off the bat. 2 tackle breaks, 1 offload, 1 forced turnover, and 82 run meters. Very solid from Isaiah Yeo. If you've got him in your team right now, you're pretty happy because that's a belter of a score. Kenny with a 57, Papali'i a 55, Hudson Young a 51. Just no attacking stats for Hudson Young. 200 meters run is very impressive, though. Lindsay Smith a 47, Martin a 47 as well, Tomoko a 46, and then down to the low 40s. Here we got Leota, Starling, To'o, McLean with a double, 43. Edwards with a flat 40 here. Into the 30s, Smithies, Mariota, Papali'i, Henry, Sorensen, Sasangi. Okay, grabbed the try. Sasangi was solid off the bench in this one. Tungo with a 32. Then to the 20s, Blaze was a bit quieter in this one as we predicted. 10 missed tackles definitely doesn't help. Garner, Paddy, Stewart, Chris, Jenkins, and Xavier Savage obviously picked up that injury. 3 points there. There's a chance Tamale comes back next week or the week after, though. So, keep an eye on that. That could be really interesting. Now, ripping into the last game of the round, or first game of the round, we work our way backwards. Rabbitohs, they absolutely belted the Dragons. They absolutely destroyed them. And what we saw in this game was Damien Cook started this game at lock, and Little started the game at hooker. I thought Little was quite good in this one. I thought Cook really worked hard in this one. It's obvious he's not a lock normally, right? But I thought he hit, man. He's in the back end of his, well, not the back end, but he's a bit of an older player, and he just does whatever the team asks of him. He goes to center, goes to lock. Damien Cook, you can't hate Damien Cook. He's a fantastic player. But let's go through this game here. And Ashton Ward's the first crab off the ranks. So 73 points here, 6 goals. That helps. A try assist. 31 tackles with no misses, so handle his defense there. 2 tackle breaks. You got 2 forced turnovers. Again, defense, right? 92 run meters and 200 kick meters. Very solid game from him. Very little to speak of in terms of negatives, except for a couple of penalties there. Talis Duncan at 68, grabbed a try assist. 14 tackles, 3 tackle breaks, an offload, and 200 plus run meters. Cody Walker being back is good news for Talis Duncan. I'm going to say this over and over again. It is really a demonstration of what a half can do to a back rower. And Cody Walker is one of the best in the game in terms of feeding his edge back rowers and feeding his edge. Just a very creative playmaker. So, if you haven't already, go watch some Cody Walker highlights in the offseason because, he's at the back end of his career, and I think people are just forgetting how good he is. I don't know why I'm dying on this hill, but I'm a big Cody Walker fan. Then Jacob Little, 67 here, 70 minutes, 51 tackles from Little, nearly 100 meters run. You got 2 tackle breaks. You got an offload, a line break. Little throws everything at it every week when he plays. If he gets an 80-minute role with the form he's in, or a big starting role at some point, he's a must-have. But you probably couldn't buy him this week just because it's probably a 1-week thing. DeBellin should be back next week, so I don't see it continuing. But bloody hell, Little is playing some good footy. We should go somewhere else and get a starting job. Damien Cook, a 61 here from him. 60 points, 36 run meters, 1 error. That's it. So 60 points, sorry, 60 tackles. 60 tackles for Cook. So, big defensive work rate. Halangahu, 57. He was on the cheapies list this week. It's definitely a rental. So Jaden Sewer is back either next week or the week after. So I wouldn't expect Halangahu to keep this spot long term. But at the same time, he played well. He worked hard. 45 tackles, no missed tackles, 122 run meters. Didn't have any tackle breaks or offloads or anything like that. But man got through his work, and as a young back rower, that's sort of all you can ask for. He definitely got caught out a couple of times in defense, but who didn't for the Dragons? I can't single out, a guy who's played, 3 or 4 first-grade games. I thought he was really good in this one. If I was a Dragons fan, I'd be pretty excited about him. Then Jai Gray, 54 points here, had a try in this one, 353 run meters. That was basically the stat line there. It's 54 points for him, so Jai Gray getting the job done. Munro, that little in and away on Gutho, absolutely brutal. Bit of young dog teaching old dog new tricks kind of deal. So 54 points for Munro. It's Fletcher, a 53. Arrow 52, Clemmer 50 points in 53 minutes. Big defensive work rate in particular. Down to the 40s here, we had Host with a try. Flanagan a 47. Alex Johnson, another try scorer. Kolomatangi 46 in 70 minutes. No tackle breaks, no offloads, just base for Kolomatangi. Pure base. Very disappointing if you block Kolomatangi because they're on the bye next week. Humphreys a 45, didn't get to goal kick, but did all the general play kicking, so pretty good from him. Hubner a 44, Kepi and Mamazelis rounding out the 40s there. Buchanan got through a bunch of work. 39 points here, 30 tackles, 120 run meters. Again, these rookies, they're getting through work, but it's just not quite working for the Dragons. Pacific Tonga, 36 in 38 minutes here. Isaiah Tass at 34, Gula at 31. Then to the 20s here, Gartho at 27, Tupolotu at 27 as well. Finai and King Tongia on that score as well. And then we go to Cody Walker at 25. Good game, didn't really reflect in fantasy. Laurie Leilua, Luciano Leilua, I thought he might step up to some bigger minutes here, but only played the 51 minutes. Corey Allen at 22, and then down the bottom, Tavili Smith, Murdoch Masilla for Talamarina. So pretty interesting little game, that one. Everyone was sort of tipping them to be, both really bad, but the Rabbitohs definitely turned up to play. Now, in terms of what we're going to do next week, 2 weeks left. I've got 1 trade left. So some of you guys have more than that. For my team, I'll go through sort of different trade scenarios, but for my side, I've got Nico Hines and Fanua Blake coming back. They have a pretty friendly matchup next week. Who are the Sharks playing? They're playing, that's not it, it's round 27. They are playing the Knights next week. I couldn't remember who it was. I should have known it was Knights, but I think Hines and AFB are both going to go big next week. Hines is potentially a captain option. I don't know if I have the balls big enough for that. So Hines and AFB will come back into my 17 next week, and then we have to have a look at who we bring out. The issue is I like my starters. My big hole is at hooker with Connor Watson, but I actually don't have another hooker except for Talon Da Silva. So I'm going to have to bench someone like, I wouldn't do it with Bo Firma against the Dolphins. I think he's going to go big. Karaz, potentially, maybe. I mean, look at the matchup. Teddy against the Storm in Melbourne without Sam Walker. He's pretty average this week. That could be a play. I'm not going to bench Campbell. Drinkwater against the Broncos. Actually, I might do that. That's a good shout. Turbo has an easier matchup from memory. Who have they got? Yeah, the Dragons, right? So I'm going to play Turbo. Probably bench Drinkwater. Maybe Teddy. I might think about that. Potentially Katoa. I'll have a think about it this week, but I'm going to bring Hines and AFB. So basically my point is I don't really need to trade next week because I've got quite a bit of depth next week. And what's going to happen in round 27 is a bunch of guys are going to get rested, and we're going to have Cowboys on our bye as well, so Drinkwater is not going to be available, which means I'm probably not playing Drinkwater again this year. That's a bit sad. Well, he finished strong. 100 points last week, 56 this week. But that's probably what I'm going to do. I'm going to save that last trade for the last round and just hope there's a bit of chaos and I can use that trade to effect. For your sides, I would say if you have 2 trades or more, you could make a trade this week to luxuriously bring someone in who has a good matchup. The big thing is matchups, though, right? So you're looking for those fixtures that you like. It's why I was so high on those Broncos players this week. As much as Ben Hunt didn't really pop off, so I was so high on Reece Walsh this week because just that matchup was so tantalizing, and he was set to go massive. We like Tino this week with the matchup as well. Unfortunately, I also like Dewey this week. I did like the matchup, and we saw Luai go massive in this game when Dewey went down, but unfortunately, Dewey picked up that injury. You can't predict a facial fracture, so it's a tough one. But I would say, again, just look for the matchups that you want to trade for. And if you have 3+ trades, then... And you could also just run the strategy that you hope there's insane carnage in round 27, and you save the trades for them too. It's totally up to you. Have a play around. I would be tentative about bringing in guys who could potentially get a rest in round 27, though. So I'm going to flag the Raiders, Storm as big rest candidates, potentially the Panthers, depending on what they're doing. These types of teams I would probably steer a bit clear of. And I wouldn't jump on a lower place team where they're not fighting off the spoon. That sort of mid-tier of the low half of the ladder. I wouldn't jump on any of those guys who are carrying injuries as well. So that's kind of what you want to steer pretty clear from. If you haven't got Munster already, for example, I wouldn't jump on Munster now. There's just a chance that he doesn't play around 27. In previous years, he has gotten a rest. So the Storm sometimes do it around 26 too. So potentially it could happen next week as well. So we'll see what happens there. That's me done and dusted this week, guys. Good week for my side. I'll just quickly refresh it, actually, just to see if there's been any updates. Maybe. No updates. So that's it for me, guys. Hopefully you had a good week, and hopefully you're not feeling too much of that chaos and you've got a full 17 for next week. That's the big play. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.